What's going on, Ravens fans? Happy Super Bowl Sunday. My name is Joey Petersen. You are watching the Ravens Rundown. It is mock draft time, ladies and gentlemen. Our second of the season, but this one is going to have a pretty big blockbuster trade. Going to make things very, very interesting and very, very fun. Before we get into the picks, got to remind you, we did our first mock draft last Sunday. We went Vega Uwane, guard out of Penn State with the 14th overall pick. We had R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma in the second round, Julian Neal out of Arkansas in the third, Albert Regis in the fourth, and then we rounded things out with a tight end, linebacker, wide receiver, defensive tackle, running back, and guard. Really, really liked those selections. However, I think I like today's a little bit more. Speaking of today, it is the big game, ladies and gentlemen. Super Bowl Sunday. Y'all let me know who you got down below in the comment section by giving me an NE or an SEA. Weigh in with your answer. Who you rocking with today? I think Seahawks win. I think they win big. Before we get into the picks, got to remind you of the Ravens draft needs. I think offensive line, defensive line is 1A and 1B. I could see them realistically going either of those in the first two rounds of the draft. Honestly, I could see them hitting both of those in the first two rounds of the draft. After that, cornerback, linebacker, and wide receiver, you can make arguments that all three of those are the third biggest needs behind offensive line and defensive line. All that to say, you got a lot of holes to fill. However, you're going to be making a big move on draft day, okay? And you are going to be trading Mark Andrews, your first-round pick, and your seventh-round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs to get their first-round pick. So you trade Mark Andrews in a seventh to move up from the 14th spot to the 9th spot because there is a very, very special player available. Before I tell you who that is, I do want to address this trade real quickly. Look, I think you jumped the gun on the Mark Andrews extension, and I think that was a pretty big mistake, okay? Mark Andrews was dead last of tight ends and yards after the catch in 2025. Mark Andrews has hit his ceiling. He is now either plateauing or I believe he's on a downward trajectory. Kansas City, they need tight end help. They need it badly. You can help them get that need, move up in the draft. That way you could fulfill some of your own defense needs in themselves and land an absolute stud, and that is Arvell Reese, linebacker out of Ohio State. That is the reason that you are making this move, because this is a player who is looked at as a top 5 player in this draft, but in this mock, he falls all the way down to 9. And I know what you are thinking. I could read your mind. I've been doing this channel too long to not know. You're saying, Joey, linebacker in the first round, in the top 10, that you traded up for, are you crazy? Maybe, but I don't think so. Look, Arvell Reese is like a Kyle Hamilton of linebackers, if you get what I'm saying. He's like Micah Parsons the first year out of college. He's one of those guys, you could put him anywhere. He could rush off the edge if he needs to. He could stand up and play linebacker. He could go into coverage. He's a chess piece. And Jesse Minter, if he had Arvell Reese and Kyle Hamilton on the same defense, would be absolutely drooling. Number 2, sometimes, man, when you get to a player like this, when a player like this falls in your lap, you can't just pass on him. Especially when you could trade away Mark Andrews, sign Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kolar, and kind of fix your tight end problem right there. Like, you've got the fix for Mark Andrews going away already in the building. The stats were very, very kind to Arvell in 2025. 69 nice tackles, 10 tackles lost, 6.5 sacks, 23 pressures, 2 pass breakups. He's one of those guys that is really, really, really talented in coverage as well. Only 189 yards allowed for a linebacker is very, very impressive. Mel Kiper is as high on him as anybody else in this draft. He said this is a complete football player. Reese jumps off the Ohio State tape, playing the game like a veteran. I see natural instincts at the linebacker position that allow him to make plays most guys just can't make. And he has the burst to get home when turned loose as a pass rusher. Reese has been a big riser in this class. If he falls to 9, man, you waste no time in selecting him. Okay? This dude's going to be a star. And I cannot imagine him in this Ravens defense. They'd be very, very lucky to make that move. Maybe that's why I should be hired as the GM. Rate that pick, scale of it 1 to 10 for me down below in the comment section. If you think it's perfect, give me a 10. If you hate it for some reason, go ahead and give me a 1. Let's go to the second round. Pick number 45, Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee. And no, I'm not just biased because I am a Tennessee Volunteer. I think Colton Hood would be an absolute steal late with the 45th overall selection. 50 tackles for the cornerback in 2025, 4.5 for loss, 9 pass breakups, an interception, 2 touchdowns. He was great in coverage, a 51.9% completion percentage when he was targeted, 325 yards allowed, only 1 touchdown. He got flushed into that cornerback 1 spot that he did not expect to be in at Tennessee. He transfers in there. They got Ricky Gibson. They got Jermon McCoy. Then Jermon McCoy tears his ACL. Ricky Gibson tears his labrum in game 1. All of a sudden, Colton Hood's their CB1, and he plays phenomenally. Okay? And the reason I think he could fall out of the first round, out of the top 10 in the second round, because the size question marks. But, hey, I think you need help in the cornerback room because I don't know if it's a given Marlon Humphrey, given his contract, is on this team in 2026. Let's address offensive line now. How about Jennings Dunker? Offensive lineman out of Iowa, round 3, pick number 80. This is a guy who has been skyrocketing up draft boards after what he was able to do in the Senior Bowl last week. And first off, just looking at the dude, why would you not want this guy on your offensive line? I mean, talk about a quintessential guard, tackle, center, wherever you want to put him. And that's the thing about Jennings, is he played tackle at Iowa, but he is projected to go to the guard spot when it comes to the National Football League. He played on the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line at Iowa. He was a 13-game player this year, last year as well, 80 overall PFF grade. Great pass blocking, great run blocking, only 2 sacks allowed through the entirety of the season. And I get it, you don't need tackle. He's not going to play there, okay? You're going to have Emory Jones as your starting guard, and I think Jennings Dunker would also transition to guard as well. Just because at the NFL level, I don't think they trust him to be on an island with some of these quick edge rushers, but they trust him just because of his physicality, his strength, his natural abilities to be on the inside. Let's talk defensive line now, okay? How about Grayson Holton, defensive tackle out of OU? So in your first 4 rounds, you have a linebacker, edge rusher hybrid, cornerback, offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I think I'm doing good so far because this dude's been absolutely crushing it at the Senior Bowl as well. He was kind of like the Jennings Dunker on the defensive side of the ball. Very, very impressive. But kind of similarly to Colton Hood, there are some size question marks, which I think is ultimately why he will fall to the 4th round. 6'2", 292, 31 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. He was chaos up there in the interior for Oklahoma. Big part of the reason that defense was so good, so talented. And I get it. You already kind of got a undersized defensive tackle on the defensive line, and Anais Peebles, drafted last year in the 6th round. But I think Grace Halton would be a great, great compliment and a great rotational depth piece for Baltimore in 2026. What do you think the Ravens' biggest draft need is? Let me know your answer down below in the comment section. What say you? Give me your answer. If your question is, Joey, where's the coolest merch? I got an answer for you. It's our Minter is Coming t-shirts and hoodies, which are available right now if you go to chatsports.com/Minter. If you like the hoodie, but you know it's going to get a little bit warmer outside over the next couple of months, we got t-shirts available as well. T-shirts are cheaper, only $30. You can buy both of them together and save $10 on your order. Our chief product officer has come in and absolutely crushed it in the merch department. This is the first time we've ever done something like this on this channel. So take advantage of it because we don't know if we're going to continue to do this, okay? Also, next 5 that get one, I'll give you a shout out on Wednesday's live show, okay? Chatsports.com/Minter. That link is in the comments and description of today's video. I think it's time to get a wide receiver with your first pick in the 5th round. And I think you go Ted Hurst, wide receiver out of Georgia State. This is a dude who not many people were talking about coming into this season, but with the size, with the frame, with the speed, running about a 4.4 40-yard dash at 6'3", this dude is incredibly impressive. His last 2 seasons combined for almost 2,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, 127 catches. And I personally would like to get a guy in Baltimore of that size to give Lamar Jackson something a little bit different, frame-wise. That's going to be Ted Hurst, okay? Really liked what he was able to do at Penn State. The one-on-one contested, or not Penn State, Georgia State, the one-on-one contested catchability is something that jumps off the page if you watch any amount of tape. It'd be a risk, getting somebody from Georgia State in the 5th, but I think it's a risk worth taking. If you trade away Mark Andrews, you're probably going to need another tight end on this roster. So how about Tanner Koziel, tight end out of Houston, round 5, pick number 156. Very productive last 2 seasons for the Cougars, this year especially. 65 catches, 651 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He and Connor Wegman had a very, very good connection. Look, I am done with Mark Andrews. That's why I traded him away. I think you can re-sign Likely, re-sign Kohler, draft this guy, boom. There is your draft room. And with Declan Doyle, it's going to be very important to have guys who can both block and catch passes because Declan Doyle uses tight ends kind of as fullbacks in his offensive schemes when they line up in power or I formation. Let's go back to the offensive line. How about Trey Zun III out of Texas A&M? Round 5, pick 172. Yes, you do have 4 picks in the 5th round. 6'6", 319 pounds, played in 12 games for the Aggies in the 2025 season. Only 1 sack allowed with a 72.25 PFF grade. You need offensive line depth. Tackle, guard, center. You need as many bodies as you can, especially the fact that you're probably going to lose Voorhees and Daniel Fa'alele, which is a good thing, but you need guys to put behind them. Speaking of Koziel, when do you guys think the Ravens should draft a tight end? Let me know your answer down below in the comment section. Or should they? Give me a yes or give me a no. 2 more picks left. Let's go to Max Llewellyn, edge rusher out of Iowa. I guess I'm high on the Hawkeyes because this is my 2nd Iowa player drafted. But if you're going to get somebody out of Iowa, might as well do it in the trenches. 23 games played, 9.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He's got really good size. He projects in the National Football League to be a guy who is a solid rotational depth piece for teams for years to come. And I think that's kind of what this team needs, right? I think maybe you go sign somebody in free agency and you just pick up some guys you believe can be a situational pass rusher like Max. And we're going to round this thing out with another linebacker addition, Lander Barton. I don't know how much longer Roquan Smith is a Baltimore Raven, but his time is going to come rather soon. Sooner rather than later, right? You're going to need guys in this linebacker room after him. I believe in Teddy Buchanan. You obviously added Arvell Reese, but I would not mind adding another player after you suffered so many injuries in that linebacker room. 51 tackles, 3.5 sacks, sack and a half, 1 pass breakup. I like the aggression, physicality, and violence that he plays with as well. I think that's something that's going to jump off the page, not just to Jesse Minter, but to your defensive coordinator and Anthony Weaver as well. 2.0. It's done and dusted. Grade it for me down below. A, B, C, D, or F. I traded Mark Andrews to the Chiefs. Then I selected Arvell Reese, Colton Hood, Jennings Dunker, Grayson Halton, Ted Hurst, Tanner Koziel, Trey Zun, Max Llewellyn, Lander Barton. I don't think I could have done better on my first 4 rounds, if I do say so myself. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Daily videos right here on the Ravens Rundown.